Before we start, my name is Shelle Sanchez. I'm the director of the Department of Arts and Culture, and lucky for me, the public library system is part of my department. But I want to do one thing before we get into the speechifying and talking about how amazing this is. It took a lot of people to make this thing happen, right? A lot of resourcing, a lot of visioning, a lot of advocacy, a lot of planning, a lot of designing, a lot of building, a lot of putting books on shelves, a lot of technology, so many things to get us to today. And so before we go through our ceremony of celebration, will everybody just take a moment, look around at each other, like look at all these people that showed up for a library on a Saturday in the middle of the day. Look up, because if you look up, you can see the sky. Yeah, look up, look around. Feel your feet on the ground. You're the first day the library is open. You are here. Take a collective breath. Breathe it in. Love it. All right. So now let's do the speechifying and celebrating because we remember while we're here. We're going to start with this opening ceremony. I'm going to bring up somebody who has worked with and for the International District Library for many years and in many public roles. It's always an honor and a privilege to bring up Mayor Tim Keller and Liz Kiston Keller.
Thank you. It is so exciting to be here today, see all of these faces. And again, I just want to, first of all, thank Shelle and her entire team for the work to make this happen. So another round of applause for Shelle and the entire team. And I think as Shelle mentioned right in that opening, we knew that it took a village this size times 10, right, to make this happen, to reach the day we are here today. But we also know that what it takes to build a library, right, and to build the kind of community that you all have envisioned for this space will take all of us over and over and over again, filling this space, imagining what can happen in this space. And so we are so excited, right, that this is a moment where we celebrate the opening of these doors and the continuation of building what this space means for all of us and continuing to build community here. So thank you all for being part of that. I have the privilege as well of thanking some folks, lots of community organizations, community advocates, and elected officials came together over decades, right, of advocacy and imagination and hard work to make this happen. So I'm just going to list some of the incredible elected and former elected officials we have that were instrumental in making this happen. We've got Treasurer Nancy Bierce here today with us. Thank you, Nancy.
And the Mesa resident.
Yep. Former Treasurer James Lewis is joining us here, State Treasurer. We have former City Councilor Ray Garduno here. We've got former City Councilor Lon Senna joining us. Thank you, Lon. We've got our State Rep Debbie Sarniana here joining us. We've got incredible current counselors on the City Council. Councilor Grout and Councilor Davis are in the house. We've got Senator Mimi Stewart here, who's been advocating this for a long time. And we have County Commissioner Adriann Barboa here as well. So again, huge thank you to all of these individuals for their leadership. And as you'll hear from a couple of them here, thanks to all of you for the people power that have allowed them to continue to advocate and pull the pieces together of funding and design to make this happen. So it's a real joy for us to see all of you here today. And I'll turn things over to Tim to talk about more of where things go from here.
Well, good. Hey, you like that? All right, so good afternoon, International District, Albuquerque. This is a very special occasion. And, as I look out and I see so many faces, some that, of course, I haven't seen in a long time because of COVID and other reasons, but also, this is so many things coming together in one special place. It's obviously a library, which in our era today means tons of computers. It's a place for programming and kids and art. This is also going to be a place for internationalism. It's going to feature, as it should in the International District, special collections for different languages and our refugee communities. So it's going to be the first of its kind, really in our state, that's focused on those kinds of publications and media. And it should, because we're right here in the International District. But I also see faces of a lot of former neighbors and family friends that I grew up with. So I want to share, for some of us, this was at least 20 years in the making, if not longer. And it was about 15 years ago, which sounds amazing. I think when some of us got started on this project too, on the elected side, and some of us are wearing our International District buttons from back in the day. Nancy, if you see the little flower, it's on the back here too, but there's some great sort of heritage advocacy efforts, even these t-shirts that we used to make every year to go up to the Roundhouse. So this has been a long time coming for this community. And, back when I was the state senator here for 6 years, and I lived in this area for about 10 years, and this is where, even predates my wife and family, and I met Liz because of Enrique and others. I mean, I literally owe so much to this community, including my own family. So, thank you, International District. And for us, I decided that, fundamentally, I learned a couple of things, many things, but one important thing from many of you here today and from this community. And it was that, for decades and decades, we had seen the sort of underinvestment or disinvestment from this area of town by every level of government. And I'm so grateful for everyone, especially our state legislators, the city councilors here, and everyone who's been a part of this. And there are a lot of folks who've been a part of this. But they're all part of standing up against that. We are now putting more dollars into our historic communities of color than we ever have in the last 40 years. So between the voters and the councilors and the legislators and the community and everyone in between, we have a new park at Wilson Park. Phil Chacon is up next. We have a new substation. We have new paved streets in that entire area of the International District. I just tinkered with things, and La Mesa's up next. And we also have hundreds of streetlights all over. We finally have landscaping on Central, and they just finished paving the road for the first time in like 20 years too. So look, we are catching up in the International District. And this is the granddaddy of them all. This is the statement project that says we are here for this community, we are investing in this community, and we believe in this community. That's what this library is all about. So I want to wrap up by also just saying that we want to acknowledge so many of the leaders who have fought so hard to see some of the things that I mentioned come to fruition. Some are here today, some have passed on. And we all share different memories in this community, but I do want to mention, as you walk around this facility and appreciate it and enjoy it, a couple of things that I think are really testament to that. Number one, there is a wooden dance floor. Anyone know why there's a wooden dance floor at the Caravan East? It's where I used to go before I met Liz. And it's also where my parents used to go before they were married. So it's pretty much where half our town went to go. And I got to tell you, it was a great bar. So I do miss it. So we have the heritage wooden dance floor to pay respects to Caravan East. We're keeping the sign, too, as an homage to that. We're going to fix it up, of course. But it's a great remembrance of lots of good memories here. And we're going to speak in a little bit more depth about some of the other memories that we've embedded in this facility, but I just want to touch on them. One is we do have a room named after Councilor Garduño. And I think Ray's here. Ray, give us a wave. So there he is. Councilor Davis picked up sort of the ball when Ray transitioned. But I remember in the Senate, Ray called me And he's like, we're going to build a library on the Caravan East. And I was just like, oh, God, here comes another idea that's never going to happen, you know. And, you know, at the time, I could only offer my capital outlay. You know, there wasn't a whole lot I could do to help. But that's also why, you know, 10 years later, when I came in, I said, we are doing this library. And everyone else picked up that legacy from Ray. But there were community leaders involved, too, and there were so many to mention. But one who's not with us anymore, of course, is Reina Luz Suarez. So we've also honored her memory and legacy in just a small way by dedicating one of the rooms to her. And we're going to hear a little bit more about her after. As well as, in general, the Jewell family and Bobby Jewell. And I think, is Tommy here with us? Or? Yes, awesome. There we go. Oh, nice. So another amazing connection in the International District, a message of advocacy and leadership and African American heritage right in this community. And so we're honored to be able to do that as well. And two last thank yous that I want to share. The Friedman Trust, are there folks from the Friedman Trust here? It's interesting. Well, their name is right there. But, you know, we wanted to make something a sort of cornerstone in this library for, again, that international sort of multimedia and experience. And so the Friedman Trust gave us $1 million to do that. So let's give them a round of applause. And it takes those kinds of things. You know, we budget things. We don't put a lot of bells and whistles on taxpayer projects. And so we appreciate it when the private sector or the nonprofit sector, that's why we were able to add a lot of special amenities, including that reading room. So lastly, I want to thank every single Burqueño who voted for this, because this was on the ballot like 4 different times, and we finally got it done. Round of applause. Thank you so much on behalf of the city of Albuquerque. Congratulations, Shelle and everyone else. And I'll hand it back to our MC.
So I was talking to a couple of community members about how long these amazing projects take in the public realm. And I will tell you, this one would have taken even longer if it hadn't been for Mayor Keller. And I'm not exaggerating. My boss, this amazing mayor, asked me at least once a week, and sometimes more, where are we and when is it going to be ready and how are we going to go faster? So if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here yet today. We'd be here eventually, but it wouldn't be today, I promise you. Okay, and so again, this is all about community and it's about resources, and it takes every level of our elected officials to advocate and to continue to advocate. And so I'm going to bring up this district's city councilor, Councilor Pat Davis.
Oh, well, finally, right? It's been a while. Yeah, as the mayor said, I think one of the first conversations I had as a new city councilor was schlepping up to Santa Fe and going to visit all our legislators. And I think our very first meeting in your office in the Roundhouse was, what are we doing about this library, right? And because when I had the opportunity to follow Ray Garduno in this seat, Ray and I were talking about it at his house with Ilsa one day and his son. And I said, okay, well, make a list of things we need to work on. What do we need to finish? And Ray said, there's one, finish the library. And so it really does. It is somebody said it's a 15-year project. Some folks have said it's longer than that when the first meeting started. It really says a lot that this library in this place, for all those reasons, is here now. And because that these rooms are named not just for people who wrote checks, because that's a big piece, but are named for community organizers, who are named for neighborhood leaders, families who made the International District their first home for the first generation of Americans or first generations of New Mexicans or the first generations from their communities who found home here. This is paying it forward from all those people who got from this neighborhood and this community the opportunity to start a new business, to start a family, to become somebody, to get elected, to learn organizing. This is our way of paying it forward. This is your way of paying it forward to the next generation. We have some amazing libraries in our city, and you've all heard this. When this project got started with the community, everybody looked at the map and said, yeah, we have great libraries, but not one here. Here's the place that has the most need, one of the most economically disadvantaged but best opportunity neighborhoods in our entire city. What dollars could go further than here? And everybody agreed, but it has taken us a long, long time. And there are a couple of other folks I want to recognize in addition to the mayor and Shelle's lists that include some folks at the city council like Sean Ferran, who's run my city council office for 7 years. Wherever Sean and Theo are. Vanessa Baca from ONC, who's kept our neighbors informed, helped us organize these meetings, keep us going. Tom Minicucci, who's managed those dollars every cycle. It really does matter that it takes all these folks. But there are a few other neighborhood people that I promised we wanted to recognize as well. Christopher Ramirez and the Together for Brothers team, wherever they are. Not only the great organizers, but really the impetus behind our zero fare bus programs now that will bring you right here to the front door of the International District Library. Of course, Enrique, you're going to hear a lot about Enrique today because he's involved in everything here. Bernadette, wherever I saw her a minute ago. Bernadette Hardy, where's Davida Wells? Dr. Boleto and Khadija Bottom from the District 6 Coalition. Nancy and Charlie, of course, and Nancy's role as an elected official has been huge, but I knew her as both of you as neighborhood organizers from the very beginning from La Mesa. And all of our friends from the Asian Family Center, our next big capital project for the International District. I also saw our former Commissioner Jim Colley, who's been an ally and a friend and a real advocate for us during COVID times at Bernalillo County, and passed the torch to Commissioner Barboa, who you're going to hear from. And of course, our senators like Senate President Mimi Stewart, who really was a champion in this last session for helping us secure, with all the money the state had available, helping us secure the final amounts we needed to start building, finish this out, along with, of course, Debbie Sarignana, our state representative here in this International District, Kay Buenica, where's Kay? If Kay is here with us. And of course, State Representative Gail Chasey has been donating to this for years with Antoinette Cedillo Lopez from the State Senate. There's a lot of folks to talk about, and more important, there are a lot of things that we want you to see today. But let me remind folks, I said this to somebody the other day. This project, as the mayor said, is a catalyst. Make no mistake, we've all worked on this in different ways and in different times. Shelle asked the mayor asked Shelle every day, what are we going to do with this? I ask our folks, we talk to our legislators, when are we going to do more dollars? But it is it's no exaggeration to say that having Tim Keller as our state senator and our mayor really did get this finished. Put in some of the first dollars, and a couple years ago, when we were putting together the city's bond package, you and I got on the phone and said, we're going to finish this library. We are going to do whatever it takes. And the biggest investment by city's taxpayers came on the ballot with your election with that cycle, because we agreed to put and focus all of our efforts on finishing this investment and finishing that promise that we'd all made to this neighborhood and not extending it another 4, 5, 6, 7 years. It really does make a difference. But make no mistake, this is a catalyst project for what is to come, right? As the mayor said, we put money into, Councilor Don Harris and I started putting money into East Central that the city and the state have picked up. Councilor Grout has been helpful in helping us finish that as we go to the East Gateway all the way to Tramway. But this project is a catalyst. It is a catalyst for East Central redevelopment. It is the marker that says the city is putting money here. Our neighbors matter. Your small business matters. We have the East Central Small Business Development Center, the International District of Wyoming and Central. We have this. We have new parks. We have new fire stations. We are bringing money to this neighborhood to show people that East Central is coming back and that this is where our next focus for our city is going to be. And so thank you all for showing them how it gets to be done and placing this marker as a catalyst for the next generation of what New Mexico and Albuquerque gets to be. Thank you.
Great job.
So I'm sure you all are aware that different levels of government have to work together, and sometimes we do it really well. And today is an example of how we do it really well. I just want to say that Albuquerque City and Bernalillo County, the public library is a collaboration, shared resourcing, shared coordination of this amazing resource. Now 19 libraries, yesterday 18, now 19 libraries across the city of Albuquerque and Bernalillo County. And we do this really well together to bring these services, these spaces to our community. And to celebrate that, I'm going to bring up Commissioner Adriann Barboa.
Yay! Thank you so much. What a beautiful day, what a beautiful crowd. She said to look around, but yes, this is our community and you all did this. Thank you so much for our neighborhood. I'm Adriann Barboa. I'm the county commissioner for this district, District 3 in the county. And I want to do a little bit of what our MC did. How many people in the room yell real loud or make some noise if you speak more than one language? Okay, yell really loud if you respect and wish you speak more than one language. Right, there was a both on both ends, and my family has lived here for generations, and specifically I grew up here in Southeast Albuquerque, and I actually remember like Mayor Keller, my parents coming to Caravan East, and then when I started UNM, I remember so many students were coming here because they had a cheap buffet and good music, so we got to make sure that dance floor gets its practice. New Mexican music was always here and played loud. This was a place where students came, and I'm so glad that this is such a resource for our community. Last, I want to promise to be quick that I just look around this room and man, when we talk about standing on the shoulders of giants, it's so true here. And everyone is a giant, whether before us or currently. Like I've had such a blessed life to grow up here in Southeast Albuquerque where I got to hear multiple languages. I got to go to birthdays for multiple cultures. I got to stand on these shoulders like Ray Gardunia. I was a kid getting access to so many of these people, and it was we're leaderful and we know what we want, and where else does the community get to decide what they want to call themselves and make sure it happens? Where else do they get to decide what their library is going to look like and where it's going to be and make it happen? So I'm so proud. I'm here as your commissioner for you. Please, thankful for this time, thankful for our leadership that made this happen, and thankful for all of your leadership today too.
Okay, next I'm going to bring up the director of the library system. As I said, yesterday 18 libraries, today 19, although for Dean it's been 19 libraries for a while because he's been working on this project for a very long time. And managing that kind of a system on behalf of the community is a big job. And he's very good at this. And I have made one observation about Dean, and it's that he loves libraries. Like, literally loves the spaces. It doesn't matter how new, how old the library is. He might love the libraries more than he loves the books. You'll have to ask him. But he really believes in these buildings and what they do for community. So I'm going to bring up Dean Smith to help us figure out how we got here.
Well, it's fabulous to see you all here today. As librarians and public libraries, librarians and public libraries both, sometimes when we're out and about and somebody asks us, what do we do? And we say, we're a librarian. We get two different kinds of reactions. The best one I ever got on the good end was from a physical therapist who said, you're the director of the Albuquerque Bernalillo County Public Libraries? You are a rock star. And then there are the ones that say, what do we need a library for? We've got Google. Well, we need a library because libraries are a crucial part of our education system. They provide books, internet access, printing, online services and databases, educational and literacy programs. And they've got staff to help guide you in research and finding information. And today, in our world, with the increase in disinformation, those resources and that staff are even more critical than ever. Libraries also play a significant role in financially strengthening their communities. There have been several studies about what's called the return on investment in things. In the case of a library, the return on investment is considered to be 5 to 1. That means that for every dollar that goes into this library, tax dollars and donated dollars, $5 comes back to its community. And that's in that $5. What is that? That $5 is in higher literacy rates. It's in better educational outcomes. It's in increased employment and income. So thank you to all the taxpayers who have contributed to this building. And every one of us, young and old and in between, are a taxpayer in one way or another. A special thanks, of course, to Ray Garduno, who, as counselor for District 6, when he was in that role, he earmarked the bulk of the funding that was for the initial purchase of the land, the design of the building, and then to get the construction actually started. And then Commissioner Jim Colley, I haven't seen if he's here. Jim Colley helped secure $500,000 from the county. And then also, of course, there was the state senator for District 17 back in 2013, a man by the name of Tim Keller, who also appropriated over $500,000. And those were the beginnings of the funding to get this building going. But there's also quite a bit of private money in this building. The Albuquerque Community Foundation, have we got any reps from the foundation here? Raise your hand. Excellent. They gave us a generous grant that helped pay for not one, but 2 cutting-edge virtual reality computer systems that we'll use for programs. And you'll get to take a test drive on the computer, the virtual reality, in the young adult room later today. And then there's the Albuquerque Public Library Foundation, who contributed over $200,000 for enhancements to the children's room, including the Early Literacy Center, and most recently, a very generous amount that's going to be used for a public art piece that will be coming into this library in a year or so. So we can all look forward to that. Representing the Library Foundation today is Diane Fleming. Raise your hand. Diane also chose to commit to this building the many, many generous donations from her friends and family that were given in honor of her husband, Robert Fleming. I also have tremendous gratitude to Richard Friedman that we heard a little bit about. He was a man I never knew. He was a regular user of the library, a heavy reader, and none of the library staff knew him. He was a quirky person, but he was raised here in Albuquerque, and he included in his will that his estate should be used, the income should be used for purchase of books of general interest to the public, and that some of the core of the trust can be used to build reading rooms. And hence we have the Friedman Reading Room, we have the Friedman, we also have the Friedman Fireplace and Reading Lounge, and we also actually have the Friedman Young Adult Room, thanks to very generous contribution from that trust. Is Tom Walker here? Tom Walker is the lawyer that was the trustee for the estate, and he's also the chair of the Friedman Trust. And many thanks to him for his excellent stewardship of this incredible resource that is going to impact generations of citizens in Albuquerque. And of course, one of the most valuable things that libraries add is space. It's a safe space to learn, connect for all members of the community. So whoever you are, however you identify, you can come together with others every day in a public library to learn, share, celebrate where you live, who you are, and what you want to become. Now, all of that, those fabulous activities, the education, the return on investment, the space, and the programs, doesn't happen without the staff. So first I'd like to ask Steve Cordero, who's our head of maintenance, and all of his staff to raise their hands. I see 1 or 2 of them over there. They have been schlepping the books into the building here, amongst many other things that they've been making this building happen. Also, our IT staff, if Oscar Montiel. and his team want to raise their hand. We know where they are. They have put together all of the computers, and there's a whole lot in the back that makes everything that's up here in front work. Probably almost more cables than anyone can imagine in the back of the building. And finally, Florence Sablon and her staff, would you raise your hands? Florence and her staff are the staff that are going to be welcoming you into this building every day. So thank you for recognizing them all. And I'm going to quote a little bit from Father Timothy Healy, who was president of the New York Public Library. He said, "The most important resource that the library has goes home every night." So physical space of a library communicates much about our underlying values as a society. This building communicates a lot about the values of the International District. It says, you are welcome here. It says, come in, learn, connect, enjoy, and be inspired. It is meant to welcome and uplift everyone who enters. Lots of people were involved in the construction of the building. Stacy Herrera was the city project manager. Bradbury Stam were the contractors. Raise the hands. Maria Griego Robbie from Contract Associates and her team picked out and sourced all the fabulous furniture that you see around. Nicole McKenzie with Innovative Library Interiors coordinated the shelving. And of course, RMKM Architects with Mark Rohde, Peter Wren, Anthony Baca, along with landscape architects, Faith Okuma and Abby Feldman from Surrounding Studios. They're the ones that turned the ideas of the community into steel, glass, concrete, plants, bricks, pavers, and the wood that you see today. I'm going to call out Mark Rohde. Raise your hand. He is the principal architect on this project, and he is the unstoppable force in making this building such a jewel in the city and a landmark of the International District. He made sure it was what the community wanted. That process started with the 3 community town halls that were held before design or even thinking about what this building might look like even began. Mark and his team did tremendous preparation work before those town hall meetings, and they made sure that they were well marketed, well attended, accessible to all, and that all community member voices were heard. Of course, special thanks to the community members that provided their voices. They gave of their valuable time, they came together, and they shared their vision of what a public library for the International District should be. Their input is what made this not just a good building, but a building that is, to me, unquestionably a great public library. And our next speaker is a community member, an organizer and a leader. He's a public health expert and a mechanic. He's a friend, a neighbor, a parent. He even says he's a grandparent. He's one of those rare people that makes you feel welcome and valued when you meet them, even before you've said hello. Please welcome Enrique Cardiel.
Thank you. I have to adjust this because I'm short. Well, before I say anything else, I want to recognize folks from the Jewell family who've provided so much to this community. You know, it's a huge honor to be here. I remember having conversations about a library back when we were doing metropolitan redevelopment area work way back, talking with Councilor Garduño about it, and then continuing the conversations with then Senator Keller and Councilor Davis and other folks as time moved on. So it's a huge honor to be here. To see this level of investment in our community is a big deal. And I have to say, as somebody who plays music for money as well as my day job, that I deeply miss the caravan. And I want to honor the reality that was a job for some of us, right? And that, you know, besides a bar, that was work for folks that hasn't been replaced. No one has replaced the paid gigs that musicians had at the Caravan and many other establishments that have been closed down. So just as a musician, I have to hold that space for folks who play music for money. You know, it's not just a hobby for a lot of folks. You know, I want to recognize Councilor Garduño. I remember having lots of conversations about getting a new library and which of the 50 different places that we looked at it would be, and what's going to happen to the existing library, and his commitment to having, you know, an international collection, and I think that's important for our community. So all that was stalling. I'm honored that my friend Reina Luz is being honored in this building. Reina Luz complained a lot about things I talked her into doing. But anybody that knows she talked me into doing lots of things as well. And you know, so it was mutual. So while her physical self is no longer with us, her family's here, her spirit's here. I believe Eloisa's here, wherever Eloisa's at. Eloisa's a strong community organizer facing a lot of challenges, just like our community is, and I really want to honor that. Without community organizing, a lot of what we have now wouldn't be here. I want to remember Alborn Clifton, who did a great deal for our community and would be so pleased to see this here and would be bugging Councilor Davis to where the pool was going to be put. And I do want to give a moment to honor and just recognize that a couple days ago a young boy died in our community, not too far from here, and that we need to, as a public health worker, for me, I don't care who causes someone to die, we want 0 people to die. And so in my day job, with, you know, I interact a lot with the city in my day job, and they asked me to support some work around gun violence. And I said, we will do that if you're willing to recognize that police gun violence is also something we have to reduce and eliminate. Because feeling safe in our communities is important, you know, regardless of what the reason you don't feel safe is. You know, and this is a huge investment, you know. Senator Keller and Mayor Keller, or Mayor Kelly, sorry, really did a lot to invest, right? The councilors, commissioners, all my representatives and senators behind me did a great deal. And I really want to honor that there's no one person that says they did this. We all pitched in our 2 cents here and there. And that's really what makes this community great, is that folks are willing to come together and work hard with each other. I want to recognize the International District Healthy Communities Coalition that's worked hard. Bernie is over there somewhere, and her brother Greg. They do a great amount of community work. It's really important. If you don't know them, go talk to them after this. My family, my grandson, my great niece, my daughter, I believe my wife and my son are out here, and lots of people that grew up around me that I consider family are here as well, sitting over that way and other places. Because, you know, I've been in this community 25 years, and I've given everything I can. And really, a lot of you are family, not just neighbors. And neighbors are important to me. But some of you are more than that. And we've gone through lots of things together. We've shed tears around things and celebrated things. This place is important because the International District has a higher than average high school dropout rate, right? And we know that someone who hasn't graduated from high school is 10 times more likely to end up incarcerated than someone who has that. So it's important to be able to support literacy from early on to adults. So creating a space like this that allows and encourages people to read, to learn, to get engaged is important. There's a ton of potential here. This could become a place that serves as a support for folks who are unhoused, who are living on the streets, to come and get services, come and get out of the heat, and, you know, maybe spend some time reading, spend some time engaging with other folks. That'll depend on all of us. It'll depend on the service providers, how the libraries run, but we can do that, right? We have a large number of unhoused folks in our community, and so having a space like this may not seem like it connects to that, but just hang out at a library for a while and you'll see how important libraries are to our folks who don't have a permanent roof. It's a huge deal. And since the caravan floor is still here, some of that energy will probably still be around. It's an opportunity to build community, right? Look at all the folks that are here. Talk to somebody, introduce yourself to somebody that you don't know before you leave here today, right? Meet somebody new today, otherwise we wasted like $10 million. You know, really talk to somebody you don't know. That's one of the values of this type of place, is to always be an opportunity to build more community. You know, the mayor talked about internationalism. This is a community, you know, I identify as Chicano. Other folks that look like me identify differently, right? But this is an opportunity where we can come and honor all of our different backgrounds. You know, my friend Victor Limry and I, you know, we don't necessarily look the same, but he's a friend, right? Somebody that I've known for many years. Back when Taolin had a wooden plank floor that you had to walk on and not get your feet wet, right? You know, if anybody remembers that Taolin, you've been around a minute. You know, Khadijah is one of my friends. You know, there's just so many people. Deveda was right here a minute ago, her and Orchid, right? They're like family to us. So I think just continuing to look and build. I see Martha over there. Right, and I'm talking about people that I've known since they were in public school, right? So it's not my friends, like people that I was in the Navy with and we had beers and went to the caravan. You know, it was folks that slept at my house, hung out with my kids. You know, some of the unhoused folks that we see now, I remember them as elementary school kids with, you know, cute Ninja Turtle backpacks going to school. And now I have to see them camping out, you know. And so I feel that the fact that I own a house and I've been able to get a master's degree since I've lived in this community, that I owe something back. And I think that's the spirit that a lot of us who worked on this library, and I know I've missed people, you know. Nancy and Charlie have worked on, you know, we've been to way more meetings together than we want to talk about. You know, there's just so much that was put into this that isn't seen, right? That isn't documented, that isn't part of the official story, but it's what builds us up. It's what makes this worthwhile. It's what makes this worth smiling and crying about. And what we want is to take this as an anchor place and then to get ourselves really grounded and settled and continue to build up our community, continue to make our community healthier, continue to make our community stronger, and continue to make ourselves a better community of working together. So thank you very much for having me here. Much love to everybody.
Okay, we're almost there. I know you guys can feel it. I know you want to go touch the books. You want to sit in those new chairs. But this is a building not only about community, but about words and the power of language. And to really bless this space, we are going to bring up our very new Albuquerque Poet Laureate, who was only announced 10 days ago, and in that time agreed to be here, write a poem, and bless this space with words. I hope you guys are ready, because she is a force of nature, Ana Martinez.
Thank you, Shelle. As I did research for this poem, I never imagined I would begin with a quote from a larger-than-life storyteller turned cultural example of resilience. Despite all odds, addictions, encounters with the law, now a social media meme that begs the question, what kind of world are we leaving behind for Keith Richards? And I understand this is not a moment for joking. And you might ask, what the heck does Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones have to do with this occasion where we are gathered to celebrate and to hold accountable? Just as I asked myself that, I have known his music all my life, but never his reverence for libraries. As I learned, as I researched, that he once stated, growing up, there are two institutional places that affect you most powerfully. The church, which belongs to God, and the public library, which belongs to you. The public library is a great equalizer. And though I beg to differ on the church belonging to God, having grown up in its literal shadow, I am nothing if not for equality. And its school library was my universe and books my world. As a child well-versed in story, I was quite unshakable. The stillness of a library was something the restlessness of my home of 5 kids would never know. It was where I went when I was feeling alone and confused, as difficult questions about God were my specialty. Malcriada seemed to be my middle name. I felt the weight of societal shame for being a girl with a way with words. Thankful that in a parochial school I found not abuse but understanding, as Sister Angie, the librarian who lifted the weekly checkout limit from 3 books to 15, but only for me. As she grew tired of watching me through the library window, run home to drop off my school bag and run right back to exchange the 3 books I had just checked out the previous day, but I digress. This is not a story about Keith Richards or me or my affinity for the library. It's about what this library can do for you. But let us first acknowledge that the land on which we stand is the traditional homeland of the Tiwa Pueblo peoples. Land stolen, land which has always been a corridor, both natural and cultural, way before Route 66 guided those headlights headed westward on through. A story of her ocean of prairie lands where herds of bison, antelope, elk, bighorn sheep, and wild mustangs once roamed. Grandmother Mountain, our great keeper of direction and watermelon time. Northern edge for jaguar, southern edge for snowy lynx, where the spruce, fir, aspen, ponderosa pine forests of the highlands, whisper and song carried on winds to the pinon and juniper lowlands, cottonwood bosques that oversee and protect our waterways, just as she oversees and protects the integrity of her peoples. Grandmother storyteller, who understands wisdom, comes into this world not because of stories spoken, but stories heard. Wisdom she is anxious to share with the children gathered around and listening. A chorus of grandchildren chanting, "Grandma, Grandma, tell us a story." They climb in and crawl up on her lap, push and fight for the position closest to her beating heart to feel the vibration sing from her soul as they seem to recognize the lesson and truth of the story is vested in people old enough to remember. This is she, your new library. Sorry, I'm sweating, but this is getting good. The spirit of a great grandmother storyteller, fully aware of your struggles to exist and persist within her circle of life, the circle of stories, as she has seen it all from her perch on the porch of this vibrant neighborhood, persistently perceived as the war zone, home to communities of Fair West, La Mesa, South San Pedro, Trumbull Village, Elder Homestead, Siesta Hills, Expo, New Mexico, and all the ones I didn't know about that you can read off of the back of Mayor Keller's t-shirt. Middle schools, Wilson, Van Buren, and Hayes. And of course, the mighty, mighty Hornets of Highland High. A story of a place sold in the media as the worst neighborhood in New Mexico for the health and well-being of children. As a loose-jointed carnival of sex, drugs, and booze, the most violent place in the city, full of ruffians and bad vibes and out of control, where gun violence and crime appear to be the only equalizer. The stories of this place called the war zone or international district in our politically corrected consciousness, even though the notion of an international zone should conjure images of borderland spaces where individuals experience human rights protection gaps, unlawful profiling, gender-based violence, torture and ill treatment, dangerous interception and arrest practices, prolonged and arbitrary detention, a saturation of policy enforcement who themselves are allowed ignorance of the law as a defense to their behavior, but its citizens are not allowed that defense when unlawfully profiled by them, arrested by them, beaten down by them, gunned down by them, no benefits of their humanity. A place where low-cost shelter makes it a home for immigrants, newcomers, and refugees from multiple countries, among its original families from Central America, Southeast Asia, and of course the prosperous Black businessmen, homesteaders, redlined out of home loans and home purchases right here. Black GIs coming home from World War II, prohibited from using their GI loan bills to purchasing housing right here. We acknowledge all of them. And as a brown Chicana woman, I will allow you to fill in your own brown stories. This is a story about equity and the belief that communities regenerate not from gentrification from the outside in, but through its residents working from the inside out, wherever we work, with the intention of love, rather than to import solutions that perpetuate poverty and addiction, punishment and crime, violence and fear, solutions that come from the people most affected by the problems that can be all solved with the wisdom collected within these walls. a wisdom under threat right now of book bans and burnings. Libraries, you see, protect your rights to access information for free, housing the widest possible range of viewpoints, opinions, and ideas. And yet, right now, because of that, libraries across the country are under attack with a focus on eliminating books that address the voices and lived experience of people just like you, that span the spectrums of color and gender, histories rewritten to less offend the offenders, censored when freedom of information is fundamental to a just and American way of life. So let's protect her right back, as this one here and her stories belong to you. Don't let them mislabel or erase you. Libraries help communities tackle economic divides by promoting literacy and helping us develop skills needed to survive and thrive. Frontline defenders in a global information society full of landmines of mis and disinformation. Libraries preserve history and truth, keeping us informed with facts rather than confused with political fiction, as all people deserve free, open access to our shared culture and heritage that no moment in time that measures value only in monetary gain could ever erase. In a country with more guns than Americans, libraries remain the true equalizer. A zone of peace in a world where that is a precious commodity, leveling the playing field by serving people of every age, income level, location, ethnicity, physical ability, providing the full range of information resources needed to live, learn, govern ourselves, and work. A place where communities come together to revitalize struggling neighborhoods, to learn, share, celebrate where they live, who they are, and what they want to become. Grandmother Storyteller here has recorded you in the annals of time and has a lifetime of experience to share as living witness to how quickly times change. She knows her audience and offers advice and stories told with love and without judgment of those who seek her wisdom. This place, your library, and the hoard of storied treasures that lay within waiting for your discovery. And she will never run out of stories because it's time to replenish her with yours. They are just as good as the old ones and better than the ones they tell about you, and who better to tell them than you who have experienced them. And those stories will only be known so long as they are told. So I will end with a couple of shorts of my own taking place in this exact spot, in this lot, where my own daughter Angelica, in her Highland High School cheerleading uniform, on her way home from a basketball game, was jumped by some girls over a boy at this very bus stop, then pepper sprayed in the face by the APD officer who responded because he claimed he'd learned early on not to come between a girl fight. And my sister Yvonne, who once lived right behind here and rode the bus back and forth to UNM, dodging cat calls of "Vamos a bailar" from the bus stop outside the Caravan East, where music always spilled out into the street from musicians and ranged from Willie Nelson to the godfather of New Mexico music himself and the crush of my daughter's life, Al Hurricane, who she had the honor of helping walk onto the stage at his final show in that festive place. And I will never forget how the phone call of a friend and our neighborhood kids would gather just across the way here to make the hike down to Walmart together to help one mom carry groceries back home when she was injured at work, lost her job, car broke down. And I will stop here because I have so many more just like Grandmother Storyteller, who asks, what kind of world are we leaving behind for the most precious of us? This library is the glue that will gather generations together, and like her, the story of this place is the face of love, the house that love built. Dr. Cornel West once said, justice is what love looks like in public. Today, in this space, the war zone has found justice. And the look of love suits her ever so well. It is beyond time now to rewrite your myth, reword your legend, reclaim your destiny. It is now time to change the narrative, to remember and show them who you truly are. It's a good thing this gold came in handy for something. Thank you so much for coming out. I hope you will join me in my project during my tenure as Poet Laureate, which will be to be teaching know your rights and writing workshops in all of our community centers for the kids. Legal question and answer sessions for the parents if they choose. And we will have an anthology of the videos of their performances and a book with their poems at the end of my tenure. Thank you so much for coming out to this place that means so much to me and so much to all the people in here. Enjoy.